Hey, it's Shona. I'm back to my unscripted form. Today I want to talk about structural change, but I want to talk about the thing that I keep encountering all the time, which is any of us who ever focus on personal growth, advocacy, agency, uh, meditation, there's a risk. Everybody says, well, if you focus too much on the individual, you're still using an individualistic solution. And so I'm going to show you two books. I have not read these books. I'm deciding what to read next. I have Helping People Change by Richard Boyatzis. I went to a talk by him a few weeks ago, and it was great. He's been working on this problem of how people become more effective. I think primarily in the workplace, but he's been studying for 58 years. He really knows what he's talking about. So that's number one. And the other one is Design for a Better World. Again, Don Norman is one of the best known designers, I guess, in the world. He's the author of The Design of Everyday Things. And this is a book about creating meaningful, sustainable, and humanity-centered systems. So it's not just like make it so that when a person picks up an object, they have an easy interaction with it. But it's like, how do we design the end-to-end systems? Now, there's a whole question in complexity, whether it's possible to design, what the levels of controls are, whether you need to be sort of outside to be able to perceive and put controls into a system. And if you haven't seen my complexity video, there's this complete thing where we don't know what's on the other side. When we hit a tipping point, we don't actually know what we're going to fall into on the other side because we haven't been there before. So when people are making projections, I was watching something yesterday that was talking about how the economy right now looks like it did in 1972, or it looks like when people are making projections from history, they're assuming that we're still going to be sort of moving around in a known system, in a known area, whereas when we're at the point of having potentially a dramatic drop in availability of energy and material throughput, we're going to be in a different regime. So that's really, really important. And how do we navigate the, oops, upside down, personal versus the political system structural change? And I tend to lean on the personal, not because I don't believe the structural change is necessary, but because I believe, after deep consideration now for 30 years, that the systems that we have are this emergent property of a collective set of beliefs. And so when I talk about working with individuals, when I give you a product, and I do have some products for sale, I'm going to become my own sponsor at this point. When I produce a product or a workshop, I work with you as an individual, but the goal is so that you can become the kind of person who not only believes that we deserve structural change, has the compassion to be able to perceive the damage and harm that's done by the system to those around you, as well as that can done to you yourself. So there's this like pedagogy of the oppressed, Paulo Freire component to it, which says we're going to create a class consciousness, which isn't necessarily like access to money, but access to power and category. We are of a class. We are of a commonality who would like to live in a world where we have clean water, clean air, actual autonomy, agency, access to housing, all of the wonderful things, plus community and purpose and meaning. Like, I really have this beautiful aspirational, I'm going to shift the direction of this channel towards hope punk, solar punk, and throughtopias. The reason I talk to you as a person is that there's skills that we need to live in community. There are attitudes that we need to bring to live in community, to be trustworthy and to believe that we deserve. And so everything that I do, when I focus on the individual, it is not, as I said in a post recently on LinkedIn, I think, that if I just coach people and they stay in exactly the same organization, in the same structure, in the same power dynamics, I feel like I'm just like giving them a massage at the edge of the boxing ring and saying, okay, go back in, you can do another round. When what I really want is for us to all come out of the boxing ring, leave them with no one to fight, and say, we're going to go over there and do something else entirely. We can imagine that we're going to go for a run or something, but we're going to go do something else. We withdraw our consent from participating in this brutal boxing match that we all are enmeshed in. So when I talk one-on-one, when I talk about individual, when I talk about personal growth, I'm talking about not becoming like, oh, I can be at the top of the heap, but I can be in relation. I am able to bring my whole self into relationship with other human beings, and together we're going to be able to create something more beautiful, more compassionate, more meaningful, more purpose driven, more nurturing, more sustenance, like sustenance based. And so I I read the design books and I read and think at this level of analysis, because if you bring this level analysis without this level, you go, okay, since we're stuck in these systems, how do we navigate them? Whereas my question is, who do we need to be to reform these systems together? So I have that both and. And to that end, I am relaunching my very original domain. When I say that, I mean it was the one that I registered first in 2001. It's called Dendrologic. The goal is to see the forest and the trees. So there will be more on that coming up in the near future. Wait, one more thing. I also made myself a promise that every time I've been doing a lot of freelance work, so every time I submit a freelance gig, uh, or put in a job application, because I've got that in my back pocket as a possible outcome. I also will make a video or send a post to my mailing list. So if you're not on my mailing list and you want to be, I'll put a link in the comments section below, and I might be able to put one here somewhere, but I don't actually know how to use those features of YouTube yet. Apparently, I have a grandpa style of YouTube, which I'm okay with.